This is Earthfall. We're on Xbox Series X, taking a look at this Left 4 Dead-esque experience. So I guess also Back 4 Blood-esque, you could say nowadays. Some people might know that one more, which is kind of funny. So what we're getting on here is kind of interesting because there's not really concrete details on the experience in general, but it does appear like we are getting that 4K update that was supposed to come out for launch, but it was kind of delayed and stuff. We definitely have HDR support on this one, and I think it's got a bit of an uncapped frame rate sort of going on for it, if that makes sense. Like I'm on, I have VRR running, so I don't know if it's necessarily dropping, but it seems like it's not perfectly smooth sometimes, and I don't know how to describe that outside of like testing without VRR, I guess, but yeah, so it could potentially at times hit up to 60, but it's supposed to be 30 as a target. That was the initial note from the developers back in the day, was 4K 30 for the 1X, which we would inherit on the the Series X, obviously, but it seemed like there was some uncapped business going on there. So kind of interesting. And yeah, so if you're not familiar with this game, and I thought I had played it more on Xbox, gameplay-wise, but I believe, because I thought I'd reviewed it at some point, and I think I did most of my playtime on the PC version of this, because I covered it from its initial sort of like early access period on Steam, if that makes sense. Like I checked it out when it was like a single campaign, I believe. So now you've got, you got this survival type mode, but you've also got, oh, did all the weapons and stuff get taken out? It's pretty funny. So, it's a campaign initially, and then eventually it became this sort of, I guess you could say, expanded experience with multiple campaign type scenarios. So similar to Left 4 Dead, you could do multiple levels, and they also added on this sort of survival mode, which is what we're playing now. I guess it's called Invasion. So the gist of this one, being similar to Left 4 Dead, is that you are surviving in a cooperative experience with 4 players, but instead of zombies, it's aliens. So there's aliens invading, and you're playing as a squad, and you're dealing with that, which is kind of interesting. And what was really cool about this one, at least for me, outside of the fact that, it was similar to Left 4 Dead and kind of hit that Left 4 Dead niche kind of thing that I kind of love, was the fact that this one kind of had a little bit more of an expansive, like, trap type system to it. So I do imagine if we ever get another Left 4 Dead, I mean, we've got Back 4 Blood coming, right, at the current point in time. But if we ever get another Left 4 Dead, I would imagine they might investigate more expansive, I guess you could say, like, defensive positioning type scenarios. So this one allows you to build, like, you see gates and stuff. It's not super, like, in-depth and intense, but they, they definitely mixed it up and tried to do something a little bit kind of different. And again, just with how the game is kind of feeling right now, I'm very interested to see how the edited footage comes out, if that makes sense. Because, the game on the Series X, for context, when it's recorded, it records without VRR, if that makes sense. So I play and I see VRR, which is a TV effect, but the console just records what it actually is playing as. So I'm very curious to actually see how that kind of turns out. It's just an interesting little factoid for you if you weren't aware of that. But yeah, it's kind of a neat sort of game. And I looked it up in the store, and it doesn't seem like it's necessarily too much of a cost factor to give this one a bit of a whirl if you were, kind of interested in what this offers. Because I do think you get, a couple of cool missions, and you could play it, oh jeez, that thing. You could play it alone with bots, or you can also do cooperative, you could play online with others, which is kind of a nice touch if you want to experience the game with a friend or something like that. So I think that's kind of a good way to sort of experience what this has to offer, and maybe it might be something that you find enticing, because I quite enjoy, these cooperative games. They're like Left 4 Dead. I think they can be a lot of fun, and I feel like this one never really reached its full potential, and it was, from what I remember of it on console, it was quite buggy, and it had a lot of issues back then, but that was like around the launch, so it seems like, they've cleaned up some elements of it a fair bit, which is good. It was a very bad, unnecessary grenade there, which is kind of funny. But I also liked how visually it kind of was an improvement. Like, it looks... So what I'm saying is that it seems to have that 4K kind of push going on, is the fact that it's not as insanely blurry as it used to look. Like, it was really, really blurry on the... what was it? The Xbox One back in the day. 'Cause this is, like, quite a number of years old at this point, I guess you could say. Which is kind of funny. Ugh. Use the sim shot. And you got the glass, or the light. But I think we're going to swap over to show off a bit of the campaign so that you can see that in action. So this is the campaign, the opening segment. Obviously you're seeing, you know, pop-in loading and everything like that within the environment. Very, very interesting. And this is the initial thing that I saw when I first played the game on PC, because it's like, oh wow, they're doing like a similar Left 4 Dead type thing. I love that. I've always been hunting for, you know, more Left 4 Dead like experiences. And I played this, and it looked pretty good for the time. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. You know, PC wise, I was like, oh great. And then they were doing console, and I'm like, ah, awesome. And then it just, I don't think it ever quite hit its full potential, if that makes sense, which is kind of interesting. And again, a little bit disappointing, because it isn't necessarily a badly put together experience. Like, you know, there's some little things here or there where it's like, but I think overall, if it would have gotten more like long-term type support and some extra content in that, I think this could have been, you know, quite a loved experience. I can't remember why they give you traps right off the bat. I think it's just to introduce you to the concept of putting this up. But there are like parts where you actually have to kind of, you know, use... I've never done that. There are parts where you actually have to defend, like, locations and stuff. That was really funny. I'm gonna go grab... Oh, they've got those stupid little yellow people things that, like, are about slowing down. I've seen those in the city this year for the first time. I don't think they do anything. They just kind of distract drivers, to be honest. I don't know if other people have done that, but I'm just like, we just got them in the city recently, these little things. Or the first time I've noticed them. And I'm just kind of, I always look over and like, oh, what's that? And it's kind of like a little bit of a driving distraction as opposed to a slow down. It's probably a little bit more dangerous, to be honest. Oh, I was kind of hoping that would launch these things. That was so funny. But yeah, you're kind of just like, you know, at these different locations, these mountain ranges. It's actually kind of a cool and fun kind of game. Like I said, if you enjoy Left 4 Dead, I think you could look at this game and be like, oh, this is kind of a neat experience, you know, something a little different. Something with some surprises in it. And I don't think they necessarily go super deep on the story elements of it. It's just kind of little campaign scenarios with people talking in between. But it's very much your typical apocalyptic scenario. Oh no, things are falling apart, and you have to move through these areas. And, you know, I don't think there was also necessarily anything too expansive when it came to the dynamics of the world changing, if that makes sense. Like, if you look at what is it? You look at Left 4 Dead, where it's got like these really dynamic level setups, so you, like, replayability wise, I don't think it's quite as in depth as that one is, but it's still something where you can sit here and you can just like munch through aliens and have a pretty good time, you know, kind of taking on these aliens. And it's just kind of funny because I hadn't necessarily forgotten about the game, but it definitely wasn't something I had thought about in quite a while. And then someone on the YouTube, which I don't know, maybe they watched it at some point, were like, you should check this out. And I'm like, oh yeah, that game. Huh. That might be interesting. And here we are, exploring it and seeing what it has to offer. So I think this is gonna bring on the horde or whatever. You know how it is with these things. Horde coming in here causing problems. But yeah, it's definitely quite a fascinating experience for sure. Something that I think you could have a lot of fun playing with, particularly if you have a group of friends that likes Left 4 Dead. You might find this to be an alright alternate option. And like I said, you can get in on this at a very, you know, decent price point from what I saw, at least in my region. and stuff. So I think that could be enticing for some people at this point, especially if you've never... Is there an alien over there? Especially if you've never seen what this has to offer, you might be like, oh, this is kind of a cool thing, you know, it might be something of interest to you. Because it certainly is fun to a degree, but I don't think this version necessarily caught my interest to the degree that initially playing on a PC did. So it's cool to be back here, where it does actually seem to be looking kind of decent and running okay. You know, playable, I guess, to a degree on the next gen. That's the fun thing too, is sometimes going back and playing games that weren't quite perfect, and then getting them with extra power and seeing how that kind of helps things. And again, I don't think it's perfectly quite smooth. Like, it doesn't feel perfectly smooth, but it does feel way better than how I remember it. Oh, that thing's like cybernetic. Oh, jeez. I remember how to get this thing off. Oh yeah, it just pins you because they got like the special alien things. You call them special effective. This is zombie based. Oh jeez, I'm going to die. I think we usually die at this part, as odd as that sounds. And there's different difficulties too. You want different challenges. I think everybody's dying from that thing. Is anyone alive still? Failure? So I thought we'd continue on with another level showcase here. This is a little bit later in the campaign. I think it's the 4th mission or something like that. So it should show another locational area that you can visit, which is kind of neat. And just to give a little bit more context, gameplay-wise, into what the game looks like.
I'm in. We could use a resupply before we hit the rail yard.
Sounds like a plan to me. I don't know, it's just kind of a unique title, right? Like, I think it is very different doing things with aliens with the Left 4 Dead formula. I would really love if they could try maybe doing another, you know, run with the game, if that makes sense, doing a sequel or remastering it or something. They might be able to, you know, get like the attention of a new audience. Like, I don't want the MP5. If you get what I'm saying, is like doing a next-gen version of it and kind of being like, hey guys, you might have missed this the first time. Because I'm sure a lot of people didn't even, you know about this one, which is a bit of a shame. And they could add like an extra campaign level or something, just, you know, to kind of get people interested in it and be like, hey, it's a new upgrade and everything, and then you might be checking it out for the first time. Getting higher performance and, you know, smoothed out visuals, I think, would be quite nice. But yeah, even now though, it's still... You know, it's way better than it was, is the biggest thing. I'm on fire! Yeah, keep blowing up the barrels, guys. That's a great idea. It's definitely a little bit weird. But it's so on par with that Left 4 Dead experience. Gotta say. But with aliens! Oh. They're definitely creepy looking, those things. That thing is crazy. Yeah, just like Left 4 Dead when you get overwhelmed by so much stuff going on. Oh, now I'm down. Are we gonna die again? This is not going well. I think we're going to die. I am so dead here. It's all up to the AI. At least she seems like she's floating in midair and invincible, so that's kind of a good thing. So crazy, I forgot like the difficulty curve on this one can be a little intense. Don't jump down there, now they can get you. There's so many of them. This is actually kind of entertaining. Oh, she's down there now. She's so screwed. Should've just kept standing on top of their heads. So I thought we would conclude with one final portion. This is another one of the invasion and or, well, you know, kind of survival segments, I guess you could say, in this one. Which is what we showed off beforehand. And this should be a good way to kind of wrap things up. Shotgun. Getting ready to go with the fireworks. The Glintech. Oh, I don't really want to use this. I need Like an actual machine gun. That would be fantastic. That's for sure. Yeah, it's definitely creative with the traps. I mean, they were trying to do something a little bit different, right? Because I think that allows you to play a little bit more defensively. I think the biggest maybe issue with this one is just content-wise. Could have needed more when it came out, but now, you know, you're actually getting decent value per that cost point. At least I feel so. Laying down some mines. Definitely could use a machine gun. We got like a 3D printer around here going on. These things are terrifyingly creepy. Just monstrous, some might say. Decent atmospherics around here. Oh no, not Danny. How are we going to make it out of here without Danny? Roy just helped Danny up. Good on ya, Danny. Or, well, Roy too. Roy helped him, so, you know. Fireworks going off, just alerting the horde. It's definitely a bit of a more condensed survival level, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Nice. Got the AK finally. See, they give you some freedom to move around too. It's kind of fun. How far does it go? Nobody knows. The Harbinger. Aliens wanna get messed up tonight. As my whole team's just dying as I gone off to go and grab this giant chain gun. That's pretty funny. Spooky atmosphere with the fog. A placeable auto turret? Now we got some fun toys. Look at me and the turret here getting ready to take care of business. Got this light for atmospheric style. It's so cinematic. Oh, this is a fun gun. There's something up there that you could use too. Yeah, they definitely got some fun dimensions to the setup of this one when it comes to invasion mode. Like I said, it's actually kind of a neat concept. They did a decent job with what they were trying to build here. And I think at that point, that's about our showcase of Earthfall here. I hope this, you know, kind of gave you a good idea of what the game is like, and maybe you found it kind of a little bit interesting and distinct for sure. But let's keep fighting the aliens, because it's never like us to give up. I mean, we've all seen Independence Day, right? A new area is available. How exciting.